Guys, it feels like everything's going from bad to worse at this football club. As if we haven't had enough injuries as it is. There's reports coming out right now that Wan-Bissaka is injured, but not only that Wan-Bissaka is injured, that Wan-Bissaka could be out for months. You're thinking, well, Malassi is out for months, Shaw's out for months. You're not telling me yet another Manchester United fullback is out for months. We actually have officially a starting 11 of injured players. Varanne, Shaw, Malassi, Wan-Bissaka, Mount, Mainu, Ahmad, Anthony, Sancho of missing / unavailable / injured players. It's actually ridiculous. And this is one of the reasons I'm not turning on Ten Hag, because these injuries, it's not even our fault. It feels like we're cursed. Now, I will say this with the story on Wan-Bissaka. The source that said that Wan-Bissaka is out for 2 months and is out injured is a source that has got a lot of information right and has been the first source to break stories before, but it's not, The Athletic. It's not a tier 1 source. When the Man United player is normally injured, it gets broken by the Athletic. So I think in the next couple of hours, if the Athletic don't say anything, maybe this is more of a rumour than a story, but there are a few reports coming out that Wan-Bissaka is set to be out for months. I'm just waiting to see what the Athletic have to say on this case. There's also reports that Ten Hag's job is on the line. Paul said Reguilon was decent yesterday. You know what? Reguilon was pretty solid, and I have to say this, and I don't know what you guys are thinking, but Reguilon and Hannibal Mejbri yesterday impressed me, and the reason they were impressive is because they had a point to prove. Reguilon and Hannibal Mejbri know that they wouldn't normally be starting for Man United. If it wasn't for this situation with injuries, they wouldn't be near the starting 11. So Reguilon and Hannibal Mejbri played as if they had a big point to prove. They played as if winning was super, super important. Why is my phone going? Let me mute that because that's going to annoy me before it continues to ring. That's going to wind me up. Sorry that my phone keeps ringing. But Reguilon and Hannibal Mejbri wouldn't normally be playing for United week in, week out. And they know that. So they came with this attitude. They came with this point. What is the camera doing now? What is their camera doing? Don't tell me the camera's been like this all stream. What on earth? This is a really good start to the live stream, guys. This is a really good start to the live stream because my camera... What are you doing? There we go. There we go. Phone's gone. Camera's gone out. What a brilliant start to the live stream. This is Man United board equivalent level start to the live stream. Shambolic. But Wan-Bissaka injured. Are we cursed? What's going on? Ten Hag job on the line. Everything seems to be going wrong. We're going to talk about Ten Hag. We're going to talk about Anthony. We're going to talk about Sancho. There's been some changes in the Anthony case. We're going to talk about a lot of stories on the channel. So smash the like button, subscribe if you're new, share the video, and let's look at this here. This is an absolute joke, what I'm going to show you guys. This is an absolute joke. And I'm also fuming that Arsenal won. But this is Manchester United's injured or unavailable 11 or whatever you want to call it. I mean, what is this? What is this? What is this starting? This is not fair. This is better than our current starting 11. This side is generally better than our current starting 11. That's the worrying thing. Our injuries, we are cursed with injuries. We are absolutely cursed with injuries. It's not fair. But I want to get into the Wan-Bissaka news because, again, it's a lot of rumours coming out that Wan-Bissaka's injured, rumours from credible sources as well, but it's not come out from the Athletic. I want to show you what has been said on Wan-Bissaka, just so you know the information. And I would say keep an eye on, see if David Ornstein or Laurie Whitwell or someone from the Athletic really comes and puts a story out. So essentially it was said by this source, Yo Insiders, but it was also said by another source as well that had was a bit more recognisable, that Wan-Bissaka is out for 2 months with a hamstring injury. Such a shame. He was one of the very few positives in this season. That's going to be yet another long winter discontent, and Jay has confirmed according to this report. So it's a bit frustrating because, again, we don't have confirmation that Wan-Bissaka is injured, but there's multiple reports coming out and being retweeted and posted out, assuming that Wan-Bissaka is out for months, 2 months injured with a hamstring injury. And I'm just hoping, and smash the like button if you're also hoping that this isn't true. If you hope that this story isn't true, to hit that like button along with me, because I am very scared. I just think for me, I just feel like surely they're going to give us a break. Surely we're going to get no more injuries. Surely it is time for a break, because I think the more and more injuries we get, I just think we're cursed. I just don't think it's possible to have any more negative news. We lose to Brighton, player injured, It's like right wingers can't play for United at the moment, all three. It feels like everything's going wrong at United. I'm like, surely we can't get any negative news. Surely we can't get any more bad news. Surely that is the end of all bad news at United. And then we're hearing stuff like Wan-Bissaka's injured and Ten Hag's been told his job's on the line. And the Mirror have come out and said that Ten Hag's been told and warned that his job's on the line as well. Wan-Bissaka was not dropped for being with Sancho. It was confirmed he was ill. Yeah, there was a rumour, and we discussed it in my video 2 days ago. There was a rumour and reports coming out that Wan-Bissaka was dropped because he went on holiday with Sancho. And there was loads of rumours coming out 2 nights ago before the Brighton game. Wan-Bissaka was dropped because, or he was going to be dropped. I did a video 2 days ago that Wan-Bissaka's in trouble, and there's some rumours that Wan-Bissaka's going to be dropped ahead of the Brighton game because he went out with Sancho, and Ten Hag was annoyed. But I said, look, that was rumours. I'd take them with a big pinch of salt. And then Wan-Bissaka wasn't in the starting 11, and we're like, oh, maybe is there some truth to the rumours? Wan-Bissaka has been dropped. Could the reports that come out the day before the Brighton game that he was going to be dropped because of Wan-Bissaka, because of hanging out with Sancho, be true? But then Ten Hag said, no, Wan-Bissaka was dropped because he was ill. Wan-Bissaka's been ill in the week. That's why he's dropped. And reportedly, Wan-Bissaka's picked up an injury, which I just think the guy played for 10 minutes. Yeah, don't tell me he's picked up an injury that's going to get him out for months for 10 minutes. Because I'm done with injuries. I'm done with injuries. With just no more injuries, please. No more injuries, please. And I tell you something I want to talk about, because I do want to get to the Ten Hag news. We're going to talk about Ten Hag and backing Ten Hag. And this is going to be an interactive live stream, so do get your chats in. I am going to engage with the live chats in this live stream. But something I want to talk about is Raphael Varanne, the guy that I think we're massively missing. And I don't know your thoughts. I know Varanne isn't the best at playing out from the back, and he isn't the best player in the world when it comes to build up. And a lot of people, especially the tacticos, don't seem to like Varanne, and they say that, oh, he's a weak point, la-di-la. But Varanne is not a weak point. In fact, whenever we've been poor defensively, Varanne is never really part of that display. We are a better side when Varanne plays. I know some people don't like Varanne because he's not the best at build-up and he's not a modern technical centre-back. But Manchester United are a better team when Varanne plays. Defensively, way more organised. For me, I like Lindelof as a third centre-back, but the drop-off from Lindelof and Martinez to Varanne and Martinez is very noticeable. We got through the end of the season with lots of clean sheets with Varanne and Lindelof. Varanne, for me, is one of Man United's most important players. And I think he gets a lot of stick. I see a lot of fans give him sticks, rival fans giving him sticks, saying he's not that good just because he's not great in build-up. Okay, yes, he's not the best centre-back in the world when it comes to build-up, but he's one of the best centre-backs in the world when it actually comes to defending. Defending is something that Manchester United didn't know how to do yesterday versus Brighton. My grandma was mocking Man United today. I saw my grandma, and she doesn't watch much football, and she was laughing. She was laughing at Man United's defending. She was saying, oh, I couldn't believe how bad they were. I thought Man United were good. I mean, because we were awful. We couldn't defend. We could not do anything versus Brighton. Everybody was just laughing at our defending. People that didn't even watch football were like, wow, like Man United's defending's rubbish. And this guy, Raphael Varanne, we miss him. Right centre-back, we should have signed in the summer. Kim Min-jae, we should have signed in the summer. Todibo, Pavard, I don't care who. We should have signed a right centre-back in the summer. We should have got Kim Min-jae because he had a 40 million release clause and it would have been a steal, because we definitely need a right centre-back, because as good as Varanne is, he's not reliable. He's got a bad injury record. And we miss Varanne. We are missing Varanne. We're missing the calmness and composure someone like Amrabat would bring to the midfield. We're missing a lot of things. We need, for me, this is what I want to see. Pellistri on the right, Højlund up top, Rashford on the left. Sometimes Garnacho comes on for Pellistri on the right-hand side as well. Bruno as a 10, Casemiro and Amrabat. I know that Casemiro has been poor lately, but I think Casemiro is being scapegoated. I think the role Casemiro is being asked to do this season is ridiculous, especially at his age and his tempo. I think Casemiro is being absolutely scapegoated, in all honesty. But Casemiro, Amrabat, Bruno midfield three, Varanne, Martinez, Shaw when he's fit, or Dalot and Wan-Bissaka at right back as well. What will change if we get a new manager? Not much will change if we get a new manager. I know. Do you know what? I spoke to everybody that's Ten Hag out. Well, I spoke to people who's Ten Hag out. Everyone who's Ten Hag's out's reasonings are Ten Hag wasted our budget on Mason Mount. At the end of the day, if we had a proper sporting director, director of football, all of that stuff, they probably wouldn't have let that much the budget go on Mason Mount when it wasn't a priority position. And Mason Mount is still a decent signing, who I think people are writing off too early. We needed someone that could do that role, that could add depth to Bruno's role, that could have more energy than Eriksen. That is Mason Mount. So the first reason people are Ten Hag is because they don't like Mason Mount. The first reason I know people are Ten Hag out is because they don't like Mason Mount, which is pathetic because he's played 2 games for United. And you never know, we could be sitting here in a year's time and Mason Mount could be player of the season. We could all be praising Mason Mount. I don't think that's going to happen, but you never know. The second reason people are Ten Hag out is because he keeps playing Antony at right wing. He likes Antony, he's got a bit of favouritism to Antony, but Antony tracks back. Antony does what Ten Hag wants him to do. Sanchez doesn't do that. I'd rather him give Pellistri a run in, but that's Ten Hag. So people's reasonings for being Ten Hag out is they don't like Antony, or they don't like this player, or they don't like that player that Ten Hag keeps playing. And it's like, well, cool, you don't like this player, you don't like that player that Ten Hag keeps playing. But actually, you know, what has Ten Hag done? Ten Hag's got rid of Maguire. Ten Hag's got rid of Maguire and McFred. No one wanted to see Maguire play week in, week out. No one wanted to see McFred. Ten Hag's got rid of them. Yes, he plays Antony. Yes, he signed Mason Mount. But I think there's no logical reason for those that seem to be massively Ten Hag is out. Guys, please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Share the video and all of that good stuff as well. Sorry, I just got loads of messages coming through. I've just missed the super chat as well. Thank you very much, Paul, for the super chat. Tom Landry, coach of the Dallas Cowboys, lost his first 5 years. The owners gave him a 10-year contract extension because they believed in him. He won the championship and Super Bowls for 29 years. And that's the thing. You have to give managers time. I say this now. I think we're in a world where managers don't get much time anymore in football. Did you know the average amount of time a manager gets when they join a football club is just over a year? I read a statistic and I listened to this podcast, and they said actually, you know, they did a survey of the managers in the top 5 league, and on average, a manager stays at a club, I think 13 months or 14 months or something. Like, that is the average at most. You know, that is ridiculous when you actually think about it. Absolutely ridiculous. Like 14 months. What can you expect? Ten Hag's been here 14 months. What could you expect Ten Hag to do when he inherited the worst ever Man United side that was set back for years with the damage Woodward had done, the damage Ollie had done, the mess in the dressing room? You expect him to turn it around in 14 months. Managers need to be given a few years to turn things around. And I feel quite strong on that. And I think, you know, Arteta finished 8th, 5th, and 8th and 5th. Ten Hag's been here 1 year and finished third with a trophy. But when Arteta finishes 8th and 5th, it's trust the process. When Ten Hag finishes third, wins a trophy, in the next season, United look pretty bad because they've got 12 players injured and another 3 unavailable through suspensions. All of a sudden, Ten Hag's awful. And it's the reasoning for being Ten Hag out is I like Ronaldo, I don't like Antony, I don't like Mason Mount. This is the thing. Ten Hag is at fault for the loss yesterday. I am not Ten Hag out, I am Ten Hag in, and I will back Ten Hag. And the reason I will back Ten Hag, and I've said this multiple times, is because there's bigger problems at United than the manager. I will not turn on another manager at Manchester United while the Glazers are here, while the board is here, because Pep Guardiola wouldn't win a Premier League title at Manchester United if nothing changes higher up than the manager. Some of the squad have got bad attitudes. That needs to change. The people making decisions higher up are just skates. That needs to change. It doesn't matter if Ten Hag leaves and Pep Guardiola comes in. For me, nothing's going to change until bigger changes happen at United, and that's what my focus is going to be. I'm not going to turn on another manager. I'm not going to hound another manager out. Even though Ten Hag was at fault yesterday versus Brighton, even though Ten Hag got it wrong, even though Ten Hag's in-game management and his subs were awful and he was tactically naive, managers can make mistakes. Managers are allowed to make mistakes. Managers live and learn from that. Pep Guardiola, people in his first season said he wasn't going to make it. Pep Guardiola wasn't that good in his first season at City. He only got top 4 because we bottled it versus West Ham. Pep Guardiola didn't have this brilliant first season versus City. Pep Guardiola brought people like Jesus Navas, Benjamin Mendy, Nolito, Calvin Phillips are the flops. But when Ten Hag signs a player and it's not quite working, and Antony, Ten Hag's got no talent ID, but Pep Guardiola signed these players that flop. You're going to sign players they're not going to work out. You're going to be playing the way that you don't want to play for a bit. The system's not going to be working. You're going to get injuries. And I think the way I look at it is Ten Hag got us third last season. Ten Hag got Manchester United third place last season and won them the trophy. After their worst ever Premier League season history, we finished third, we won a trophy, we built progress under Ten Hag, and then we dropped off towards the end of last season due to injuries. We've gone into this season with a big injury list, with big problems. We've got the takeover looming in the background. The takeover looming in the background is an absolute massive distraction, And I think, you know what? I think we can still turn the season around. I still believe Ten Hag can turn the season around, and I still think things can come well. I think that we need someone like Qataris to come do something and buy the club, because I tell you what, I need these Glazers gone. I need something positive, Qataris, please. But definitely. Thank you very much, Stuart, for the super chat. What's your theory on Ten Hag's plan to pull Man U into the top 6 by the time you play Liverpool in December? In all honesty, it means at least you're not losing the next 3 Premier League matches. Yes. How can Ten Hag guarantee these results? I mean, he can't guarantee that he's going to win games as well. But for me, you just got to stick with Ten Hag. You just got to back with Ten Hag. You just got to go. Players are coming back from injuries. Amrabat's going to come in soon. This player's going to come in soon. managers need time to make things work. And I think if we keep sacking managers every 18 months, I don't think we're going to learn it and grow as a club. I really don't think we're going to learn and grow as a club if we keep sacking managers every 18 months as well. So I won't be Ten Hag out because I think there's much bigger problems at this club. I can't turn on a manager 5 games into the season. I will criticise Ten Hag. I think Ten Hag was massively at fault yesterday, and I cannot believe his substitutions, bringing on Martial and giving Garnacho and Pellistri 6 minutes. I really didn't like what Ten Hag did yesterday, but that's one game. I really don't like some of Ten Hag's team selection, some of Ten Hag's substitutes. I really don't like it. But this is a manager that got us 3rd last season in a trophy when I thought we were going to finish 6th last season. This is a manager last season that when we lost the opening 2 games to Brentford and Brighton, he showed he could turn it around. This is a manager that has only been able to use 2 of his 4 new signings due to injuries. This is a manager that's already missing 12 players unavailable that would be involved in the squad. And those players at United have bad attitude problems. Like, I'm not here to turn on Ten Hag. MESC Reader says 5 managers sacked and people still think sacking Ten Hag is the magic bullet. Have they not seen this movie before? Glazer's out. Exactly. This happens every year. I tweeted it. This happens every 2 years at United. It goes like this. I wrote it out here. I said, 1, a new manager arrives and he gets significant summer backing and then finishes in the top 4 in his 1st or 2nd season. So Jose, Mourinho, Oli, they arrive, they get a lot of backing, 1st or 2nd season, they finish in the top 4. So we all get positive. Oh, we've got this new manager. He's finished in the top 4 because he had a great summer, he had great backing, and we didn't think we were going to get top 4, but we got. But then the following summer, after we finished in the top 4, have you noticed that the manager misses out on a few key targets? Kim Min-jae, the right centre-back, Todibo, Pavard, whoever it is, they miss out on a few key targets. Amrabat comes in last minute and you can't buy him. It's only a loan. They couldn't get Kane, the first choice striker. Ten Hag demanded another attacker because he wasn't getting Greenwood back. And then all of a sudden, we went into this season 2 or 3 players short. We have gone into this season 2 or 3 players short. We should have had Amrabat here at the start of the season playing. And obviously Rasmus Højlund being injured is something we can't prevent. But we should have gone into this season with Kim Min-jae, Amrabat and Højlund fit for the first game of the season. That's what we should have done. So we go into the season with 3 key players who would play a big role in this season. Kim Min-jae's not here. Amrabat's finally come and Højlund was injured and Amrabat is injured. Short. And, all of a sudden we've missed out on key targets. We're a few players short. We have a few bad results. And when we have a few bad results and we go into the season a few players short, as soon as we get a few bad results, things start to go wrong. Players start to question the manager, turn on the manager, because we've seen these players time and time again. I like the Man United players and I back them. But we know that these Man United players, when things go wrong, they turn on the manager. They're very quick to turn on the manager. They're very quick to give up. They're very quick to stop trying. We've seen this so many times at United. So when things start to go wrong, players turn on the manager. The dressing room's in turmoil. And then all the fans do is hound the manager out. And the cycle continues. But you can hound the manager all you want out. But the cycle, this cycle that I've just listed is not going to change until we have better decision makers higher up. Because I see this argument, but Alice, Ten Hag spent 400 million, la-di-da, la-di-da. Brighton spent 17 million. There's no excuses. There is no excuses. Ten Hag was at fault yesterday. We can criticise Ten Hag. He got his system wrong. And I don't like some of the signings we've made. But you look at it. Brighton has spent 17 million to build that squad they started with yesterday. And we spent 380 million to build the squad that we started with yesterday. And Brighton played 5 times better than us. Do you not think, actually, instead of blaming this on Ten Hag, should we look at the fact that our board of directors, our sporting director, our director of football have spent 400 million to not really be great? It's like Chelsea have spent $1 billion to be even worse, to be honest. So we could be in that position. But it's not Ten Hag. Ten Hag's job isn't actually to buy players. And I think people forget that. Ten Hag is here to approve players. But Pep Guardiola doesn't actually go out there and look for the players and say, you're going to buy this player, and that player. Pep Guardiola has a system. He makes it clear to the scouts, the people at Man City, the system he wants, what's weak in the system, what he's missing. The people at Man City are intelligent enough to figure out what Pep wants to do and what his system is and what his system's missing, probably without Pep telling them, And those at Man City realise, okay, Pep needs a player that can do this. Pep needs a winger. Pep needs a player that can do that. Man City go and sort it. Our board probably watch Man United play and probably don't think we need a right centre-back. Our board, John Merton and Richard Arnold aren't footballing people. When we watch Man United play, we go, well, we need centre-back depth. We definitely need Casemiro depth. Our board didn't think that, because if those higher up watched us play, they'd have signed Kim Min-jae and Amrabat right at the start of summer, and they didn't. And, people will say, Ten Hag said 400 million, it's this time Ten Hag takes some blame. And I'm going to criticise Ten Hag. He got it wrong versus Brighton. He was naive. But when you actually look at what we spent 400 million on, that's not on Ten Hag. That is on those higher up. that is on those higher up. And I said, to continue off my point here, I said, I think Ten Hag was massively at fault today, but with the right signings and people around him higher up, like he had at Ajax, I believe he can still turn it around. You know, Ten Hag needs the right people higher up. He needs the Overmars. He needs the Van der Sar. He needs that structure completely rebuilt. Because if that structure gets rebuilt around Ten Hag, we get in our good sporting director, a Paul Mitchell, we get good people making decisions, I guarantee you Ten Hag could succeed. And I guarantee you we could sack Ten Hag and we could bring in Pep Guardiola. And yeah, Pep Guardiola might have one good season, but I guarantee you won't have two good seasons in a row under Pep Guardiola. Ten Hag ended a trophy drought and would have had two trophies if Leach didn't get injured and Rashford's goals dried up. Exactly. We could have got 2 trophies last season as well. Arguably, I think we should have won the Europa League. And I think if it wasn't for the Leach injury and all that, and if it wasn't for the fatigue, I think we probably would have won the Europa League. And I think, I look at the whole situation and I do think it's incredibly frustrating that we didn't win the Europa League. But guys, I've got a few stories to get into. So please do smash that like button if you have not already. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. We've got lots of interesting stories to get into in today's video that I can't wait to dive into. Poch out is already trending, by the way, guys. People are putting money on Ten Hag to be the first manager to be sacked. But look, you've got to look at the amount of money Poch has got. I know he's only been there a couple of weeks, and I've just said back in the manager, and I don't think Poch should be sacked. I think Chelsea should stick with him for 2 seasons. But I have to say, Poch out is trending. It's mad. 4 games into the season, this manager out's trending, that manager's out's trending. It's criminal. Not playing Bruno at 10 is criminal. Look, I agree. When Ten Hag plays Bruno Fernandes on the right-hand side, it winds me up. I'm sure it winds you up. I agree with that as well. I'm just going to scroll down to the bottom of the live chat. So if you put anything in the live chat in the last 2 minutes, do repeat it again, and I will get through that as well. De Zerbi would choke at United. I like De Zerbi as a good manager, but 100% with the system around him at United, with the lack of backing you get at United, De Zerbi would struggle if he came to Manchester United. I tell you that for a fact. De Zerbi would struggle as well. Georgia says De Zerbi get eaten alive at United, and I like him, but to be a manager at United, it's 10 times harder to be a manager at United than any other club. People don't realise it's very hard to be a manager at Manchester United as well. People say, what did you think of Rashford's performance yesterday? I think Rashford reminds me of Salah when Liverpool are bad. He's trying too hard. He's trying to do everything himself. But by trying to do everything himself, he's actually not helping the team and it's being selfish. I don't think Rashford's the problem as well. But I think, Rashford, it felt like Rashford was trying too hard. Mark says, take a breath. Okay. I'll take a breath because I do want to get into a few stories as well. No manager will work here anyway. Might as well give Ten Hag more time and hope things will work out. 100%. I agree with you there as well. And as much as I dislike Gary Neville, what he has said is right. Get them Glazers out now. Yeah, Gary Neville went in and said, what can you expect when the Glazers' mismanagement of the club sets the example for this and sets the example of that as well. But yeah, Alice talks for more in 1 hour than you do in 1 year. Keep smashing the likes, guys. And of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Can we hit 300 likes? Really appreciate it if you do continue to hit that like button as well. I want to talk about this quickly. A lot of people are saying, oh, if De Gea was playing, we wouldn't have lost. If De Gea was playing, we wouldn't have lost. Onana conceded 3 goals to Brighton, la-di-da. Are your memories silly? It's not Onana's fault. I'm going to say this now. It's not in the slightest Andre Onana's fault. Do you know what I mean? For me, what's this loss got to do with Andre Onana? Would De Gea have saved any of those 3 shots? No, it's not like they were right at Onana. No, it's not Onana's fault. The defending's been horrific. The defending yesterday from United was horrific. And I'm thinking, how short are people's memories? De Gea conceded 4 goals at Brighton. I saw someone saying, oh my God, Onana's conceded 3 goals at Brighton. David De Gea would never. A year ago, David De Gea conceded 4 goals against Brighton. Did you not watch the FA Cup final when David De Gea was partly at fault for Manchester City winning the treble and winning the FA Cup? I like David De Gea, but David De Gea needed to go. Us selling David De Gea and bringing in Onana is not the reason we're failing. The reason we are failing this season is the midfield is shambolic. The midfield cannot control games. We don't have the energy. We don't have the legs. We have an injury crisis. There's clearly an attitude problem within the squad. It's got nothing to do with Andre Onana. David De Gea wouldn't have saved those shots either. David De Gea would have conceded 3 shots either. Andre Onana is helping us in build-up. David De Gea didn't help us in build-up. People are saying, oh, Andre Onana's conceded 10 goals. De Gea had only conceded 6 goals at this stage in the season. La-di-da, la-di-da, la-di-da. It's like, it's not to do, the amount of goals we concede and clean sheets we get is nothing to do with David De Gea. It's to do with the defence, and the defence has been shambolic. So I think this let's start to blame Onana. Let's act like Onana's the problem cycle is incredibly toxic, and I'm fed up with these, let's start blaming Onana for this as well. De Gea's not coming back, and De Gea wasn't good enough. at the end of the day. The way we wanted to play out from the back, build up, De Gea was not good enough. That is the truth as well. People saying Ten Hag's there's money on Ten Hag to be the first manager to be sacked. Hopefully that won't be the case, but I do want to get into the news that's come out from the Mirror. The Mirror put out a few stories that Ten Hag's kind of been told his job's under pressure. Ten Hag could be on the verge of being sacked and all of this here. So basically, the Mirror have come out and they've done a few reports, and I want to get right into it as well. And essentially what the Mirror have said is they said Erik Ten Hag is under increasing pressure at Manchester United. Those higher up have told Ten Hag he's got to start essentially winning games or he will lose his job. Ten Hag's sort of been told, there's pressure on your job already. The start of the season isn't good enough. You need to turn things around and all of that. There's already pressure on Ten Hag. He's already been told that his job's at risk. And for me, I don't like that. I think we shouldn't be telling Ten Hag his job's at risk. Yes, he hasn't done well enough, but we should also be looking at the fact that, okay, he's had this player injured, that player injured, this player injured. He wasn't backed in the summer. If we replace Ten Hag, who are we going to replace him with? Because we could sack, because there's people saying now, Ten Hag out, this and that. We could sack Ten Hag next week, but who comes in? What would be the point in sacking Ten Hag next week when actually who could come in right now and replace Ten Hag? De Zerbi's not going to leave Brighton to go to United because he's got brains. He's not going to want to work under the Glazer ownership. Unless we're getting Qatari owners, I don't think many top managers, especially developing managers like De Zerbi, are going to come to United. I really don't. Klopp rejected us because he knew what the owners were like. Pep rejected us because he knew what the owners were like. If we get rid of Ten Hag, I think, and that's it for our attractability to other owners, not other owners, other managers. I think a lot of other top managers would avoid United because they know that's the job where you're hung out to dry. They know that's the job that's near impossible because it is. When you're working at Man United, not only do you have more media scrutiny and pressure on you than ever before because we're the biggest club in the world, you have to deal with the whole media side of things, but you're also working in a job where you are set up to fail. And to succeed in that job, you have to be a miracle worker like Sir Alex Ferguson. You're working in a job where they give you false promises. There's bad players, there's bad eggs. There's a bad attitude enforced by the environment, by bad owners. You don't get what you want. You're essentially set up to fail. You don't get signings that you want. The board and the owners will choose certain signings and certain players that we sell. Man United is the hardest job in football. And, you could sack the manager, but, who wants to come to Manchester United? If we sack Ten Hag, if we're really putting Ten Hag under pressure and telling him his job's on the line, okay, let's say we do sack Ten Hag in a month's time, who's realistically going to come in? Because I really don't think De Zerbi is going to go anywhere near Manchester United, and can you blame him as well? De Gea might have saved those goals. Alice completely disagree as well. I think people have got short-term memory. We played Brighton and De Gea conceded 4 goals and was absolutely horrific. So, just because Onana's conceded 3 goals, I don't think it's got much to do with Onana, the fact that we've conceded 3 goals. RJ says this club is breaking me as well. A defence has been ravaged with injuries so far. Yeah, it doesn't help. I don't think Martinez is 100% fit. Lindelof's reportedly playing with a knock. And this is the problem as well. Ten Hag doesn't want Maguire. Ten Hag does not rate Maguire. It's so obvious. Bruno Fernandes was playing right centre-back the last 10-15 minutes of that game because Ten Hag really doesn't rate Harry Maguire in the slightest. It's a bit embarrassing for Harry Maguire, but it's very obvious Ten Hag doesn't rate him. Ten Hag doesn't think he's good. So we're playing Bruno right centre-back for the last 10 minutes of that game. And our defence is a mess. We are ragged with injuries. You've got to think, the last 2 games, we've ended the pitch with Johnny Evans and Maguire as the centre-back in the game versus, of course, Arsenal. And then in the other game, I think it was Bruno Fernandes. Did Martinez come off? I think it was Bruno Fernandes and Lindelof as centre-backs or something like that. If you look at our centre-back pairings the last 2 games for the last 10 minutes, it's been Bruno Fernandes and Lindelof, and it's been Maguire and Evans. That should not be the last 2 centre-back pairings at Manchester United. We have been hit with injuries so badly. The injury crisis and scenario we've got at Manchester United is so bad that actually, again, for me, I'm not going to blame the manager on the fact that what can he do? He doesn't want Maguire, he doesn't rate Maguire, doesn't want to play Maguire. Johnny Evans was never in the plan to sign him on the long term. Ten Hag never wanted Johnny Evans on the long term. When Ten Hag was told he's not going to get a right centre-back in, he was like, okay, we'll have to just sign Johnny Evans on a 1-year deal for depth because, we're probably going to use him with the fact that Martinez has an injury record, Varanne has an injury record, Lindelof's been carrying a knock, and he doesn't rate Maguire as well. So, yeah, I think spy on Brighton training in order to improve United's skills. Yeah, I mean, maybe. I think, for me, there's just so much that needs to go on at United to improve. I'm just going to take a quick drink of water, and then I'm going to get into my next story. So please do smash that like button. Of course, do subscribe down below if you're new to the channel. If you do want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates, and more, please do go ahead and subscribe as well. People do not appreciate how good Varanne is at organising the defence of Showcott Khan. Exactly what I was talking about near the beginning of my live stream. I was saying this to you guys near the beginning of my live stream. Varanne doesn't get enough credit for what he does. We are always so much better when Varanne plays. We always organise so much better when Varanne plays. He doesn't get the credit that, we deserve. Wan-Bissaka is reportedly out for 2 months. People are saying this isn't because we're cursed, it's just because we're run so badly. No team should have this amount of injuries early in the season. The volume of games doesn't help, but it's clearly to do with those not managing situations higher up as well. There is also reports coming out that Manchester United are monitoring RB Salzburg's wonder kid, Oscar Golok. All 3 clubs, Man United, Liverpool and Arsenal, had scouts watching the 19-year-old Israeli midfielder. Voice is gone, Israeli midfielder as well. There's a few reports coming out that United are doing scouting for January, but I think it is PR as well. Arsenal did unfortunately win, but Chelsea did drop points. I have to say, the only good thing to come out of this weekend is the fact that Chelsea dropped points. The fact that Chelsea dropped points has made me feel a lot better. But other than that, it feels like nothing good has come out this weekend as well. We need to protest. Do not sack Ten Hag, says Mick. I absolutely agree as well. Antonio Conte may be available. Do you want Conte? I don't want Conte. He failed at Spurs. Look at Ange compared to Conte. Conte's not a modern manager anymore. Conte's not the type of manager that would last well in the Premier League. Thank you very much, Ray, for the super chat. Really appreciated. I don't want De Zerbi. I am backing Ten Hag, but we have managers out to dry too much. Yeah, we hang all of our managers out to dry. I think Ten Hag has been absolutely hung out to dry by the board. Someone will say, look, 400 million has been spent on them, this and that. It's about actually, that's not Ten Hag's job. We should be spending that 400 million a lot better than we have spent it. That's not Ten Hag's fault. Ten Hag wanted a right centre-back. He wanted Amrabat in early. His signings have come injured, all of that stuff as well. And for me, and I'm with Nick on this, no new manager would make a difference. So despite Ten Hag's job being under pressure, despite Ten Hag sort of been told that he's a couple of losses away from losing his job, I think it's ridiculous because you sack Ten Hag, who comes in to replace him? Seriously, if you sack Ten Hag tomorrow, who is coming in to replace him? Absolutely nobody out there to replace him. For me as well. Ten Hag's the man, back the boss, says Stephanie. Exactly. I do want to get into a few other points in today's video. I do want to get into actually positive things, how Manchester United are going to look when everyone's back, when everyone's fit. I do want to actually discuss some nice things because there is actually positive news out there as well. I have to say, this is obviously the report on Wan-Bissaka, by the way, guys. Again, the Wan-Bissaka news hasn't been confirmed by The Athletic. Whenever there's an injury, The Athletic normally do confirm the news. So the only good thing about this Wan-Bissaka injury story and Wan-Bissaka being out for a number of months is the fact that The Athletic haven't reported it yet. So when The Athletic report it, it's true. Again, this is more of an injury and a bit of a precaution, but it is being said that Wan-Bissaka could be out for at least a couple of months of a hamstring injury. So again, smash that like button, beg and pray there is no injury there to Wan-Bissaka. And I am just waiting for updates on that and see what The Athletic says on that whole situation as well. It's the same again. If Ten Hag goes until the Glazers leave, nothing changes as well. Guys, we need the Qataris. I'm hoping I'm wrong, but Bayern 6-2. I mean, guys, let's do it. What are your score predictions for Bayern Munich? Because you know what? Away from home, Bayern Munich, they've got Harry Kane, they've got Kim Min-jae. You just know it's not going to go our way. You just know it's not going to be a good game. I tell you this for a fact. I'm thinking 4-1 Bayern Munich. I am. And I can't believe I'm saying that. But I'm thinking 4-1 Bayern Munich. For me, I don't think Man United are going to beat Bayern Munich. Do you know what I'll do? If we beat Bayern Munich? Because I'll be happy, so happy if we beat Bayern Munich that I won't care about money. Whatever. I've signed up to Twitter Blue a month ago. Whatever Elon Musk pays me in a couple of weeks' time or next week or whenever that's released, whatever Elon Musk pays me from Twitter, which I don't know how much it'll be, but I've got quite a few tweets and 1 million views this month. I'll give away to one of you guys if we beat Bayern Munich. I generally don't believe we'll beat Bayern Munich. I will generally give away how much I get paid from Twitter this month if we beat Bayern Munich to one of you guys. Because I'm happy to give away that money if it means we beat Bayern Munich. I can tell you that now. I want to beat Bayern Munich. But I hate being this negative about United, but I just think they've got Kane and Kim Min-jae. So whenever another club gets a player that we're linked to and want to get, that means that player is going to score against us. Bayern are unbelievably good, although they didn't look great the other day. And we're away from home. The main thing is we're away from home. Do you remember we went to Sevilla and lost, 3-0? Europa League away from home. We are away from home, so if we beat Bayern, I'll give away my Twitter payout. But I'm not super confident as well. I'm saying 4-1 Bayern. People are saying 3-1. Let me know your predictions for Man U Bayern. Halves going 2-1, 3-0 Bayern. Does anyone think we're going to win? Does anyone think, you know what, Alice? It's about time we get a win. We can't be this cursed. We can't be this bad. United are going to surprise us, because the only thing I can think of, and the only positive I can think of, really, going into this sort of Bayern Munich game and this whole scenario is, I kind of look at it and I go, well, no one expects us to win. Everyone expects Bayern to win. No one expects much from United. So I guess the only positive with this whole Bayern Munich game coming up is actually people might go, you know what? Like, everyone expects Bayern to win. There's no pressure on us. I think that's the only positive at the top of my head is maybe there's no pressure on Manchester United. Maybe that they won't feel pressure. They won't feel that, oh, you've got to win. You must win. All of that as well. That's for me the only positive I can really think of is maybe there's not going to be much pressure on us to win, but who really knows as well. People say, Alice, we're going to win 3-2. Hopefully we do win 3-2. Hopefully we do win 3-2. Hopefully we do get a big win. But again, I hate saying this. I'm just not confident, guys. I'm just not confident as well. 2-1 Bayern or 2-1 United with Højlund double. Do you know what? If we win 2-1 with a Højlund double, that will make my week. Big win, Højlund double, that will completely and utterly make my week. I'd be absolutely gassed with that as well. But I think when you have no hope, you can be surprised. I never thought we were going to beat City, and we didn't beat City in the FA Cup final. But, we could beat Bayern Munich. They didn't look great against Leverkusen. And the one thing about Bayern Munich is, one, they do absolutely punch and obliterate. Unfortunately, Bayern Munich have this thing where they absolutely seem to obliterate Premier League teams in Europe. We've seen them do it to Arsenal in the past. We've seen them do it to Tottenham. Bayern Munich have this thing where they love to play Premier League sides and score about 7 goals past them. And Manchester United have this thing when they go away from home against a big team, they like to concede 7 goals. There's all of that stuff. But maybe because they're in the Bundesliga and they're not used to playing big teams or proper teams, although that's saying that we're a proper team in a big team at the moment. We don't look like one. Maybe there's a chance because, they're used to Bundesliga opposition. But I just think the way we played versus Brighton, and that was a Brighton side with 5 key players injured. That was a Brighton side where they were missing a lot of players. That was, that Brighton side, there's a lot of players that would normally play for Brighton that weren't playing. You just don't know. You just don't know. Guys, please do smash that like button. Of course, subscribe down below if you're new. Share the video as well. Alice, do you have a Yassim photo for the video? Any update on Takeover? I mean, the reason there's a picture of Sheikh Yassim in the thumbnail is because I'm saying, Qatar, please save United. The point of this video is I'm talking about Ten Hag, and I'm saying nothing's going to change until we make changes higher up. And I'm saying we need new owners. We need Qatar. That, the title is Qatar, please save us. That's why Sheikh Yassim's in the thumbnail. Because the whole point of this video is, come save us, Sheikh Yassim. Nothing's going to change at United until we get new owners. So that's why. It's not really takeover news. It's more the fact that I just want the Qataris, we need to be saved by new owners as well. People saying Højlund hat-trick incoming. People saying Bayer Leverkusen are a good side. Yeah, Bayer Leverkusen definitely are a good side. 100%. Stephanie says no pressure on United. Expected to get hammered. Might suit our weak-minded players. It's a difficult one. I think everyone expects United to get hammered, so maybe the no pressure helps us, but then actually our players are quite weak-minded, so maybe the no pressure makes them think, oh, I don't need to try, I don't need to do this, I don't need to do that. Well, 275 likes, guys. Please do smash that like button, and of course, subscribe down below if you're new. If you do want to stay up to date with all the latest Manchester United news, transfer news, updates, and more, make sure you subscribe to the channel as well. Asif says Qatar will not come now. And Jackie Harvey says Bayern, in fairness, are not playing their best football. It's 2 teams gone. Anything can happen. You never know. Yeah, Bayern aren't at their best. Let me show you this. Bayern Munich. They drew 2-2 to Leverkusen, and they didn't really play great football. They are obviously second in the league, having drawn with Leverkusen. They are in a farmers' league, to be honest, but they've not been at their best, Bayern Munich. But they're second in the league. They've won 3 games. They've drawn 1. They're still a lot better than United, and they have that extra day's rest. And if you just look at the Bayern Munich lineup, they're clearly missing a few midfielders. But look, you've got Gnabry, Kane, Sane, Davies, Kim Min-jae. I think Upamecano is a little bit overrated, in all honesty. Maybe that's just me, but I've always felt that Upamecano is a little bit overrated as well. Paul says Garnacho needs to start over Rashford. And Sean says, why don't Qatar just offer $6 billion and be done with this slow torture? I mean, that would be nice as well, but I don't see that happening as well. This discussion is pointless. The discussion we should be having is planning protests and boycott games and getting points deducted and guarantee those efforts leave. And you know what? You've got a point. The discussion we really should be having and spending our time talking about on the channel is actually, what can we do to get these owners out? What can we do to get these owners out? That's probably the main discussion we should be happening. I don't make any sense. It's because I'm tired. I do apologize if I'm not making complete sense on this live stream, but the real discussion we should be having is, yeah, you're absolutely right. How do we get these owners out? How do we get these owners out of United? And I think it's getting games called off. I've said this before and I'll say it again. It's getting games called off. That time we got the Liverpool game called off was hurt the Glazers more than any other protest has. Anything else we have. That Super League debacle, getting the Liverpool game called off, that really hurt the Glazers. That really hurt the Glazers' pocket. And I think the way forward for Manchester United is getting games called off. We can protest to the extent that games are getting called off. That costs the Glazers a lot of money financially. There's a lot of pressure from police and the English government to say, like, you know, fans are protesting about you, games are being called off. That's causing us a lot of issues. You know, the pure fact that we're getting games called off will cost them a lot of money, but also it costs resources. So the government will put pressure on the owners. We'll get points deduction. Things will go wrong for the Glazers. I think if we can get games called off and go with that just stop oil approach to the protest, then I think 100% things could change at United if we come in with some like just stop oil approach. Let's get games called off, this and that. But we'd have to go in with that kind of approach as well. Steve says he reckons Steve says it was a 2-2 draw to Leverkusen. It was. So maybe if Leverkusen can get a draw, we can get a draw. But Leverkusen are looking like a really good side at the moment. They brought that Nigerian striker. He looks like some signing as well. He looks like a really good player at the moment. At the moment, Garnacho is best from the bench. Yeah, I agree. I like Garnacho, but Garnacho is most impactful when he comes off the bench for United. That's when he makes a big impact as well. And he says, empty the stadium, cool gaze off, don't buy merchandise, block off Carrington. Probably what we need to do in terms of getting them off. We just need to go with that. I've said this before, you know, we have to go with that just stop oil approach, get games called off. I think that's the only way that it could be more effective. I mean, look, the takeover's ongoing. From what I'm hearing, you know, the club is still on the market. It still is up for sale, and things can happen with the takeover. Things can advance, but it's just not a nice situation to be. People are saying we should bring Alvaro Fernandez back from loan now. You know, obviously all this injuries. People, what was your thoughts on Reguilon, Alice? I was really impressed with Sergio Reguilon. I was really impressed with Sergio Reguilon despite the result. Do you know why? Because I think he worked his socks off yesterday. He worked really hard. He came out and he spoke on social media saying that this wasn't the result we wanted. His work rate, his attitude, it really impressed me, Sergio Reguilon. And you know, the player that we were all laughing at when we signed, like, oh my God, we signed Reguilon. What are we doing? We were all kind of laughing and mocking this player when we signed him and this and that and this and that. But his attitude was brilliant. His attitude was brilliant. He worked hard. He gave 100%. He came out and spoke about the game after, while all the other Man United players are hiding, and then they'll do their apologies and things start to go wrong. Apology FC, statement FC, writing letters and putting it on social media FC. And yeah, no, I was impressed with Reguilon. He was probably our best player actually yesterday. He probably was one of the players that was good. And I said with Reguilon, I said with Hannibal Mejbri, they were playing with a point to prove. They were playing like they knew that if they didn't play well, you know, they might not start the next game. Hannibal Mejbri, Reguilon, they're the type of players that wouldn't be getting in the Man United lineup if it wasn't for all these injuries. So when they're playing because they know they have a big point to prove. And that, for me, meant that they played better because they worked for it, they cared for it. I think these other Man United players know that they can be absolutely awful, but they'll still get picked again. They'll still get selected again. These other Man United players are like, oh, well, we don't have a point to prove. I'm this player and I'm that player and I'll get picked anyway. And I think that's a bad culture to have at the club as well. Paul says, bench Rashford, start Garnacho. Garnacho could cross the ball to Højlund. I would still start Rashford. I just think he was a bit selfish. Because the only thing about Rashford is, the reason Rashford is selfish, he doesn't track back. He doesn't do what we want and need off the ball. But the thing a lot of people don't realise is Rashford's our only attacker that's really capable of scoring goals and scoring goals often and making an impact often. And that's why Rashford plays so much over the likes of other players, because people know that Rashford can come on, he can make an impact, he can score a goal, he can do this, he can do that. And, you know, even though Rashford's not tracking back, even though Rashford's not doing enough for United, you know, I just look at the situation and I go, Rashford's the only attacker that can make something out of nothing. And that is the truth. Rashford is the only attacker at Manchester United that can make something out of nothing and really score and do something. Garnacho can do that off the bench. Garnacho's brilliant. But, you know, Garnacho gets goals here and there and can make an impact off the bench. Anthony and Sancho could get goals here and there. Martial can get goals here and there. But Rashford's the only real attacker at United that, you know, is a bit like Salah at Liverpool that can score. And I think that's kind of what's made him undroppable. It's Rashford's being selfish. Rashford's not doing his part for the team. Rashford should be doing this. Rashford should be doing that. But actually, I can't take Rashford off, even though he's playing bad, because Rashford's still the only player on that pitch that actually can score. And I think that's the situation that Ten Hag's in as well. Rashford missed so many crossing opportunities yesterday. He did it. That was the frustrating thing about Rashford. The amount of crossing opportunities he had that he just didn't do. It was so frustrating as well. And I was just in a comment, but I'm just going to ignore it as well. But yes, Højlund doesn't get the chances because Rashford is selfish. Rashford should have crossed it into Højlund way more. He really should. And the Rashford ball on the line, the referee decision needs to be consistent. It was literally bang on the line. And look, maybe it was just out, maybe it was just in, but they don't have the technology to know. And it wasn't clear and obvious. So I would just give it fine margins in those games as well. We're not getting it. We miss Luke Shaw a lot, says Jonathan. I absolutely agree. I do think we miss Luke Shaw. I think we just need players back from injury. And I think when we do get players back from injury, we'll look a lot better. But anyway, guys, I'm going to wrap up today's live show discussing everything going in and around Manchester United. Fingers crossed Wan-Bissaka isn't actually out injured. Fingers crossed we get some updates on the takeover because the title is Qatar, please save us. And Qatar, please save us. Thank you for watching. Smash that like button. Subscribe down below if you're new. See you next time and bye.